Yes, ma'am. Do you live here?
Do I live here?
That's what I'm
You
asking.
can verify I was there for 40 minutes drinking my
Ma'am, I
afternoon
need a yes
tea.
or no. Do you live at this address?
Then I'll need to see an ID.
But I need you off this porch while I run the address. Step off the porch right now.
This is my porch.
Ma'am, I said now. If you refuse a lawful order, I will detain you for obstruction. A lawful order, I will detain you for obstruction.
A complaint about what?
Suspicious activity. I need you to
Move away
from
from
this
Step
property.
off the porch right now. This is my porch. If you refuse a lawful order, I will detain you for obstruction.
Show me the statute. You can lower your voice now.
Officer Brandon Cole. Ma'am, I need you to step off this porch. Vivian Eloise Hayes. I beg your pardon? Officer Cole, step off the porch. Right now. We've had a complaint. Vivian, a complaint about what? Officer Cole, suspicious activity. I need you to move away from this property. Vivian, move away from this property. Officer Cole, yes ma'am. Do you live here? Vivian, do I live here? Officer Cole, that's what I'm asking. Can you verify residence? Vivian, I can verify that I've been sitting in this chair for 40 minutes, drinking my afternoon tea. Officer Cole, ma'am, I need a yes or no. Do you live at this address? Vivian, yes, I do. Officer Cole, then I'll need to see an ID. Vivian, my identification is inside my house. Officer Cole, then go get it. But I need you off this porch while I run the address. Vivian, you need me off my own porch so you can run my own address. Officer Cole, ma'am, that's correct. Vivian, no, that is not correct. What that is something else entirely. The body cam catches all of it. The porch, the white robe, the teacup sitting on the rail, the older woman in the chair, silver-haired, spine straight, looking at the officer the way a woman looks at something that is both familiar and tiresome. She is not afraid. She is not agitated. She is the kind of composition that you do not learn in a classroom. You earn it, over decades, through situations exactly like this one. Officer Brandon Cole is 32 years old. He has been with the Millhaven Police Department for 4 years. He received the call 11 minutes ago. Neighbor complaint. Suspicious person on the porch of 412 Cedar Grove Lane. He arrived. He saw a woman he did not recognize. He made an assumption. And now that assumption is standing in front of him in a white terry cloth robe, holding a porcelain teacup, and looking at him like he has a great deal to answer for. Officer Cole, stepping closer. Ma'am, I'm not trying to make this difficult. Vivian, then don't. Officer Cole, I'm responding to a call. I need to verify that you belong at this address. Vivian, I belong here. I have belonged here since 1991. That is 33 years. My name is on the deed. My name is on the mortgage that I paid off in 2014. My name is on the mailbox. Right there. She gestures toward the mailbox without looking at it. Vivian Hayes. 4 letters. Has been there since before you joined that department. Officer Cole, ma'am, I understand what you're saying, but anyone can claim. Vivian, claim what? Claim they live in their own home. Micro-escalation 1. The volume shifts. Officer Cole, voice firming. Ma'am, I am going to need you to lower your voice. Vivian, I haven't raised it yet. When I raise it, you'll know. Officer Cole, this is a lawful order. Step off the porch. Vivian, show me the statute. Officer Cole, excuse me? Vivian, show me the statute that authorizes you to remove a homeowner from her own property based on an anonymous phone call. Cite it by number. I'll wait. Officer Cole does not have an answer for that. Not a good one. Not a legal one. He has the authority of his uniform and the weight of the call that came in, and a neighbor somewhere who decided that this woman, sitting in this chair, in this robe, on this afternoon, was something to be suspicious of. That is what he has. It is not as much as he thought it was 30 seconds ago. Officer Cole, ma'am, if you continue to refuse a lawful order, I have the authority to detain you for obstruction. Vivian, obstruction. Officer Cole, yes ma'am. Vivian, of what? Officer Cole, of a police investigation. Vivian, what investigation? You haven't opened one. You received a complaint, and you drove here, and you found a woman sitting on a porch. That's not an investigation. That's a ride along with bad judgment. Micro-escalation 2. The witness arrives. From across the street, a man has stopped. His name is Gerald Potts, 71 years old, retired engineer, has lived on Cedar Grove Lane for 22 years. He is standing at the edge of his driveway, with his arms folded. He is watching with the careful attention of a man who has seen something like this before, and did not like how it ended that time either. A woman walking her dog has also stopped. She pulls out her phone. She doesn't say anything. She just raises it. Officer Cole sees the phone. His jaw tightens slightly. Officer Cole, ma'am, this is your last warning. Step off the porch, or I will place you in handcuffs. Vivian, you will place me in handcuffs. Officer Cole, for obstruction of... Vivian, I heard you. I want to make sure you hear yourself. She sets her teacup down on the porch rail, carefully, deliberately. It does not make a sound. Vivian, you want to put handcuffs on a 73-year-old woman who is sitting on her own porch in her own robe, drinking her own tea, because someone called in a complaint. You want to do that in front of these people, on this street, at 4 in the afternoon. Officer Cole, ma'am, I don't want to do anything. You are making this necessary. Vivian, I am making nothing necessary. You are making a choice. There is a difference, and if your training was worth anything, you know it. Micro-escalation 3. The second unit arrives. A second patrol car pulls up to the curb. Officer Renata Silva steps out. She is 29. She reads the scene quickly. The woman on the porch. The phone recording from across the street. Gerald Potts, with his arms still folded. Her partner's posture. She takes a breath. She does not approach immediately. She observes. Officer Cole does not look at her. He is committed now in the way that men commit to a course of action, after they have stated it publicly. It is the worst reason to stay committed to anything. He knows it, somewhere underneath the uniform. He keeps going anyway. Officer Cole, ma'am. Final answer. Step down from this porch. Vivian. No. Officer Cole. Then I am. Vivian. Wait. She stands. Not quickly. Not with performance. She stands the way of a woman who has done it 10,000 times, and is entirely comfortable in her own body and her own authority. She reaches into the pocket of her robe. Both hands are visible. She produces a small leather wallet. She opens it. She holds it toward the body cam, with the steadiness of someone who has done this before, in rooms considerably more consequential than a front porch in the suburbs. There is a badge inside that wallet, gold, official, engraved, and above the badge, these words, Deputy Chief of Police, retired, Eastland County Sheriff's Department. Officer Cole reads it. He reads it again. The silence that follows has a specific texture. It is the silence of a man who has just understood something he cannot undo. Vivian, quietly. My name is Vivian Eloise Hayes. I retired with full honors after 29 years in law enforcement. I served the last 11 of those years as Deputy Chief of the Eastland County Sheriff's Department. I have 4 commendations, 2 unit citations, and a resolution passed in my name by the county commissioners in 2017. I wrote a use of force policy for 3 departments. I trained officers. I evaluated officers. I suspended officers. And I am telling you right now, with the same clarity I would have used in any deposition, any internal affairs review, or any courtroom in this state, what you just attempted to do to me was wrong. Constitutionally, procedurally, and professionally wrong. Now, you run that address. And then you go back to your supervisor and you tell him exactly what happened here. Word for word. Because that camera saw everything. Gerald Potts across the street has unfolded his arms. The woman with the phone has not lowered it. Officer Silva, from her position near the second patrol car, closes her eyes briefly. Just briefly. Officer Cole has not moved. Vivian, you can close your mouth, son. And you can do your job. If you've watched this video this long, there's a reason. Because something in you recognized what just happened. Not just as an incident, as a pattern, as a failure of a system that is only as good as the people operating inside it. And today the people watching from the outside are the ones holding it accountable. Before we go any further, if this kind of story matters to you, if you believe that dignity and the law ought to walk together, hit that subscribe button right now. Because we cover these stories every week, and the one coming at the end of this video is just as important as this one. Now, let's talk about who Vivian Eloise Hayes actually is. She was born the eldest of 4 children in Eastland County, Georgia, in 1951. Her father was a deacon and a carpenter. Her mother was a licensed practical nurse who worked 12-hour shifts at the county hospital and came home and cooked dinner without complaint. Vivian grew up understanding 2 things very early. First, that a person's dignity was not a gift that other people gave you. It was something you carried. Second, that institutions, courts, schools, hospitals, police departments could either protect a community or fail it, and the difference usually came down to individual people making individual choices. She joined the Eastland County Sheriff's Department in 1977. She was the 3rd woman ever hired by that department. She was the first Black woman. She expected resistance. She got it. She outlasted it. Over the next 29 years, Vivian Hayes was assigned to patrol, to investigations, to the crimes unit, to community outreach, and eventually to administration. She rose through every rank on the basis of performance evaluations that her supervisors, most of them men, most of them older, some of them initially skeptical, had to acknowledge were simply excellent. She became deputy chief in 2006. In that role, she oversaw officer training, internal compliance, and the department's use of force policy. She was not soft on crime. She was not soft on officers who cut corners. She was not soft on anything that compromised the integrity of the badge, a word she used deliberately, consistently, and with the weight of someone who understood what it was supposed to mean. When she retired in 2015, the sheriff of Eastland County said at her retirement ceremony, and this is documented in the local paper, Vivian Hayes made this department better every year she was in it. The officers she trained are better because of her. The community is safer because of her. And every policy she wrote is still standing, because it was right. She bought 412 Cedar Grove Lane in 1991 with her husband Robert, who passed away in 2019 after 41 years of marriage. She paid off the mortgage in 2014. She sits on the porch most afternoons with a cup of tea. She reads. She watches the neighborhood. She is, by every legal and moral definition, home. Back on the porch, Officer Cole has returned from his patrol car. He ran the address. He looked her up. The name came back immediately, along with her service record, her retirement date, her commendations, and her rank. He walked back toward the porch with the gait of a man who is trying to figure out how to carry something he dropped. Officer Cole, Mrs. Hayes. Dispatch confirmed your residence. Vivian. I know they did. Officer Cole. They also confirmed your prior service. Vivian. Deputy Chief is the title. You can say it. Officer Cole. Yes, ma'am. Deputy Chief. I want to say that Vivian. Don't apologize yet. I want to ask you something first. Officer Cole. Yes, ma'am. Vivian. When you pulled up to this address and you saw me sitting in this chair, what did you see that was suspicious? He doesn't answer right away. It's not because he's being evasive. It's because he's actually thinking about it, maybe for the first time since he got the call. Officer Cole. I received a complaint and Vivian. I know what you received. I'm asking what you saw. With your own eyes. When you got here, Officer Cole, a woman I didn't recognize at this address. Vivian. And that was enough for you to order her off the property. Officer Cole, the complaint indicated. Vivian, what did your eyes tell you? Not dispatch, not the caller. You. What did you see that was threatening? Silence again, a different kind this time. The kind that is productive. Officer Cole, nothing threatening. No. Vivian, no. You saw an older woman, sitting in a chair, in a robe, with a teacup, in the middle of the afternoon, on a residential street. And someone called that in as suspicious, and you responded to the call, instead of to what your training and your eyes should have told you the moment you arrived. Officer Cole, yes, ma'am. That's accurate. Vivian, I'm not telling you this to embarrass you. I'm telling you this because someone has to. And because in 29 years I learned that the officers who were worth keeping were always the ones who could hear a correction and hold on to it. Officer Silva has approached the porch steps. She stops a respectful distance back. She waits until Vivian makes eye contact with her. Officer Silva, ma'am. I want to apologize for what happened here. I arrived late in the encounter, but I should have intervened sooner than I did. Vivian, why didn't you? Officer Silva, honestly, I wasn't sure what I was walking into, and I defaulted to waiting rather than acting. Vivian, that's a training problem, and a supervisory problem, and it's worth examining, but I appreciate you saying it. Officer Silva, yes, ma'am. Gerald Potts has crossed the street from his driveway. He is standing at the bottom of the porch steps now. Gerald Potts. Vivian. Are you all right? Vivian. I'm fine, Gerald. Gerald. I got the whole thing on my phone. The minute that officer pulled up. Everything. Vivian. That's good. Hold on to it. Gerald. To Officer Cole. I know who this woman is. Half this neighborhood knows who she is. Whoever called this in, I don't know what they told you, but what you did here today was not right. Officer Cole. Sir, I understand that. Gerald, you ordered a retired deputy chief of police off her own porch. On the basis of a phone call. That's what happened here. And that camera, on your chest, recorded it. Officer Cole has nothing left to say that helps him. He is standing in the reality of what he did, and it is not a comfortable place, but it is an honest one. And honesty, in law enforcement, is always the only starting point that matters. Vivian, picking up her teacup. I'm going to go inside now. I'm going to write down everything that occurred, with times and specifics, because that is what I was trained to do. I will expect to hear from your supervisor before the end of the business day. If I don't, I'll make a call of my own. Are we clear? Officer Cole. Yes, ma'am. Vivian. Good. Then we're done here for now. She goes inside. The screen door closes behind her with a sound that is, somehow, final. What happened next is where this story becomes something larger than a single afternoon on a single porch on a single street. Gerald Potts uploaded his video that evening. He posted it to 3 neighborhood groups and 1 local Facebook community page with the caption, "This happened today at 412 Cedar Grove Lane. This is Vivian Hayes. This woman served this county for 29 years. Watch what was done to her." By midnight, it had been shared 400 times. By the following morning, it had been viewed by more than 80,000 people. By noon of the day after that, it was on the regional news. The Millhaven Police Department issued its first statement within 48 hours of the video going public. The statement read, in part, that the department was aware of the incident and that it was under review. It described the encounter as a response to a community complaint that was handled in a manner inconsistent with departmental standards. It did not name Officer Cole. It did not acknowledge the specifics of what was seen on the video. It used the word review 4 times in 6 sentences, which is what institutional statements do when they are trying to manage something they haven't decided how to handle yet. The statement satisfied nobody. Vivian Hayes did not speak to the media immediately. That was a choice she made deliberately. She had spent nearly 3 decades watching people respond to incidents before the facts were fully established, and she had learned that the people who waited, who were precise, who brought documentation rather than emotion to the table, were the ones whose positions held up. So she waited. She wrote her account. She had it notarized. She provided it to an attorney, Marcus Gaines, a civil rights litigator based in Atlanta, who had been a friend of her late husband's and who called her the morning after the video went public to say that he had seen it and that he would take her case at no charge if it came to that. It came to that. The internal affairs investigation was opened on the 3rd day after the video went public. This was not voluntary. It was the direct result of 3 things. First, the video, which showed clearly and without ambiguity what had occurred. Second, a formal written complaint filed by Vivian Hayes through her attorney. Third, a call from the Eastland County Commissioner's Office to the Millhaven Police Chief. A call whose specific contents were never publicly disclosed, but whose effect was immediate and unambiguous. Officer Brandon Cole was placed on administrative leave with pay pending the outcome of the investigation. This was standard procedure. It was also for a man 4 years into what he had hoped would be a long career, a significant and sobering event. His union representative advised him to say nothing publicly. He followed that advice. The internal affairs review took 11 days. During that time, investigators examined the following: the original complaint call, including the caller's recorded statement; Officer Cole's Bodycam footage, which was complete and unambiguous; Gerald Potts's video, which had by now been authenticated and submitted as supplementary evidence; Officer Silva's written account of her arrival and observation; dispatch records; and Officer Cole's prior performance evaluations, training records, and any previous complaints on file. There were 2 prior complaints. Neither had resulted in formal discipline. Both were filed by citizens in incidents involving stops of individuals in residential areas. Neither complaint had been fully investigated at the time. Both were now being re-examined. The findings of the internal affairs investigation, released on the 14th day, were as follows. Officer Cole had failed to establish probable cause or reasonable articulable suspicion before issuing commands to a homeowner on her own property. His orders lacked legal basis. His threat of detention for obstruction was improper, given the circumstances. His failure to verify the address before escalating the encounter represented a procedural failure. And his conduct, when viewed in the context of his 2 prior complaints, suggested a pattern that required formal remediation. The recommended action was a 30-day suspension without pay, mandatory retraining in community policing and constitutional law, a formal written reprimand to be placed in his permanent file, and 6 months of supervised field work upon return. Chief Raymond Alt of the Millhaven Police Department accepted the recommendation in full. He also issued a second public statement, this one more specific than the first. It acknowledged that the encounter was improper. It named the department's failure directly. It used the phrase, "We did not meet the standard," without qualification or deflection. And it announced that the department would be conducting a broader review of its complaint response protocols. It was not a perfect statement, but it was an honest one. Marcus Gaines, speaking on behalf of Vivian Hayes at a brief press availability outside her attorney's office, made 3 statements and took no questions. The first was that his client accepted the department's findings and considered the disciplinary action appropriate. The second was that a civil claim was being preserved pending review, and that the decision about whether to pursue it would be made in due course. The third was this: Mrs. Hayes spent 29 years building the kind of department she wished had existed when she started. What happened to her on her porch was not an anomaly. It was a symptom. And the only treatment for a symptom like this one is accountability, followed by change, followed by accountability again. He thanked the reporters and walked back inside. The neighbor who made the original complaint was never publicly identified. The complaint itself, as reviewed by Internal Affairs, contained no specific allegation of any illegal activity. It described, in the investigator's words, a person of unfamiliar appearance seated on a residential porch. That was the entirety of the basis for the call. A person seated on a porch, unfamiliar. The investigation did not find that the call constituted a civil rights violation on the part of the caller. What it found was that the department's response to a call of that nature, minimal, unspecific, devoid of any described threat, should have been proportionally minimal. A drive-by confirmation, perhaps. A courteous inquiry at most, not a series of escalating orders issued to a homeowner without legal basis. The system, the review concluded, had worked as designed in some places and failed as designed in others. That distinction mattered. It was the difference between an institution that could correct itself and one that could not. The video, as of the time this script was written, had been viewed more than 4 million times. It had been shared on platforms across the country. It had been referenced in 3 separate op-eds in regional newspapers, one of which was written by a former police chief. It had been cited in a public forum in 2 other municipalities as an example of the kind of incident that community oversight boards were designed to catch and correct. It had also been seen by a number of current and former law enforcement officers who contacted Vivian Hayes directly, through her attorney, to express their agreement with how she handled it. Several of them were men who had worked with her, or been trained by her, or simply respected what she represented. Their messages were private, but they came. Vivian Hayes gave one interview. 1. She chose a local radio station, not television, because she said radio required you to use actual words, and there was nowhere to hide behind a graphic or a chyron or a close-up of someone's expression. Just the words. She sat down with the host 3 weeks after the incident, and she spoke for about 12 minutes, and what she said has stayed with a lot of people who heard it. She said this: "I want to be clear about something. I am not angry. I was not angry that afternoon. Anger is a luxury I learned a long time ago I couldn't afford in this line of work, and that training doesn't leave you when the job does. What I was when that young officer told me to get off my porch was clear. Clear about what was happening, clear about what my rights were, clear about what I was going to do. That clarity is something I've been building since before that young man was born. I hope he builds some of his own." She was asked if she thought Officer Cole was a bad officer. She said, "I think he made a bad decision. Those are not always the same thing. The question is what he does with it. That's always the question." She was asked if she thought the system worked. She paused for a moment and then she said, "Parts of it. The camera worked. The neighbor who stood in his driveway and didn't walk away, he worked. The investigator who called the findings what they were, he worked. The parts that didn't work are the parts we have to keep building." That's not pessimism. That's just the job. The job is never finished. There is a specific kind of dignity that this country has always aspired to, even when it has fallen short of it. It is the idea that a person, regardless of who they are or where they sit or what they look like or what robe they happen to be wearing, has rights that precede and supersede any individual officer's discomfort or any anonymous neighbor's call. That idea is in the founding documents of this nation. It is in the 4th Amendment. It is in the 14th. It is in every oath that every officer in every department across this country takes on the day they pin on the badge. Vivian Hayes knew those documents. She knew that oath. She had administered it herself, and she sat in her chair, and she did not move. And eventually the truth came out the way truth tends to, when someone is patient enough and grounded enough and clear enough to wait for it. That is not a small thing. In a country where it is still possible for a woman to sit on her own porch and be ordered off of it, the fact that she held her ground, without drama, without anger, without compromising a single inch of who she was, that is worth something. That is, in its own quiet way, exactly what this country is supposed to look like when it is working. She poured herself another cup of tea that evening. She sat back down in the same chair. The street was quiet. The fan turned slow. She had not moved for anyone, and no one asked her to again. If you believe that accountability matters, that the badge should mean what it says it means, and that stories like this one need to be told, leave a comment below. Tell us what you think should happen when officers overstep. Tell us if you've seen something like this in your own community. Your voice in this conversation is part of how the conversation changes. And if you think what happened to Vivian Hayes was difficult to watch, if the patience it required of her made something tighten in your chest, wait until you hear what happened when a retired federal judge was told by a local sheriff's deputy to produce ID before entering the county courthouse where he had presided over cases for 18 years. The deputy didn't recognize him. The judge didn't announce himself. He let it play out. And what happened next set off an institutional review that reached all the way to the state capitol. That story is coming next. Don't go anywhere.